Yeah, I mean, we saw this play out for 4 years, and we saw it all build to the election, the president's inability to accept the election results, and what we saw on January 6th, and what we've seen since, frankly. I mean, we have known from covering this White House and this amazing book and other books that are out add to our understanding of things that were reported at the time. But we knew that the president couldn't accept the results, told everybody that there was fraud, even though there was never evidence, and his attorneys were getting laughed out of court. He went down to the ellipse. He gave the speech the morning of the 6th. He pretended that he was going to walk with the people who attended over to the Capitol. And then when they actually started breaching the building, we know that he didn't pick up the phone, even when people like Kevin McCarthy were on the phone with him, yelling at him, telling him he needed to do that. He wouldn't get on the phone and tell these people to stand down. It took him 3 takes to record a message to the supporters to tell them to go home. And the best take they could go with was the one where Trump said, "I love you, you're great people." So this has always been who Donald Trump is, but this just sort of texturizes our understanding of the fact of how much strain he put on everyone around him and on our democratic system. And it was hard to cover that in real time, going to chiefs, telling people before Election Day came and afterwards that he was considering what would happen if Trump wanted to use the military to overturn the election, that he was thinking about those things in the run-up to the election itself, that he was talking about, you know, what he would do, how he would resign, how others would resign. And just having to have those contingencies in place tells you that a lot of the people in the government, the Trump administration, knew the threat that was sitting in the Oval Office, and yet they all struggled with how to stop it, how to constrain Donald Trump. Obviously, there are a lot of enablers around, Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani. There's obviously great reporting in the book about their role in sort of pumping Trump up and encouraging some of his worst impulses. But none of this is something that, you know, speaks to the health of our democracy. It just further illustrates how the Constitution is just a piece of paper, doesn't defend itself. The people who are entrusted with these positions of power, it's up to them to sort of carry our system forward. And for 4 years, there was great question as to whether or not the person at the top of our government was going to do that.
Familiar with this reporting, Jeremy Bash tells me that Pence feared a conspiracy, feared that the Secret Service would aid Trump in his ultimate aims that day. I mean, this is the most harrowing version of Mike Pence's day that I've seen reported out.
Nicole, this is typical of a dictatorship, of an authoritarian, anti-democratic regime. This is not typical of the greatest democracy ever on the face of the planet. And I think what you're seeing here is a dynamic that the former president inculcated, advanced, and wished for, which is to somehow enlist the security services of the United States, to include law enforcement, to include maybe the Secret Service, to include the United States military, and maybe the intelligence community, which are and must remain absolutely apolitical professional organizations. And I think it was his ambition to somehow insert them into his political gamesmanship to retain power. And, you know, thankfully, those organizations are full of women and men who have sworn an oath to the Constitution, up and down the chain of command, who I think have been classically trained in the democratic ideals that underpin our security, intelligence, and military organizations. And they were having nothing of it. But, you know, the reason we got to this point where essentially Trump was trying to set up a situation where might would make right, meaning, you know, my security services would help achieve a political outcome, is because Donald Trump took us there. And I want to tip my hat to the people inside our professional government organizations who continue to be under attack from some parts of our body politic today, because our organizations should never be brought into an election controversy or any political gamesmanship.